Good morning, guys. So today we're going to be driving back to Vancouver. So we actually had to pack up the car and say goodbye to Clearwater. It was such a beautiful little town. I really enjoyed our time here. It was such a great stay. Of course, we're bringing our little dinosaur friend along. We're going to pop him off on one of the stops we make on the way home. The drive today back to Vancouver is actually 7.5 hours drive all up because we're taking the scenic route. I'm really excited today. We're planning to go and see Joffrey Lakes. The drive back gave me big nostalgia, just reminiscing driving all the way up through this country here. The nature is just so diverse, particularly driving through the mountains. It went from lush forests to desert, back into lush forests again. It was insane. It was just so diverse. I went and stopped and got a little snack at the convenience store and we filled up the car. Our first stop of the day was actually at Joffrey Lake, but we soon realised when we tried to actually get in is that we didn't have a day pass for Joffrey Lake, which was very disappointing, so we weren't allowed to go and see it today. We did, however, leave our dinosaur friend behind for someone else to bring with them on an adventure. We wanted to check out a few other of the recommended sites to see heading down south towards Vancouver. We of course had to make our classic stop and go and see Whistler Village again. It was crazy driving back into town and seeing all the snow-capped mountains with no snow on them. It was honestly so different. The town of Whistler was so alive this time. It was so much warmer, almost 20 degrees and sunny. Woohoo! As we walked through the town, it was absolutely bustling with mountain bikers and tourists. And I don't know if it was just because it was more overcast when we were here last, but the town looked so much more green. The leaves were so lush and green and the tulips were popping, guys. Popping. We were overwhelmed with the choice at the bakery. It smelled so good and I wanted the brioche bun they made last time, but it's only available in the mornings, unfortunately. So I looked around and found a pie that took me fancy, filled with caramelized onions and goat's cheese. Yum! I also saw they had a spinach, ham and feta brioche, so of course that had my name on it. I couldn't choose between the two, so I bought both. The brioche was hands down incredible and the best out of the two. The pie was really yummy too, but quite rich with the goat's cheese, so Tristan got to share some with me and Ness too because I couldn't finish the whole thing by myself, but it was really good. Ness also got a piece of chocolate cake with salted caramel and it was just so decadent, honestly so rich and delicious. We had to pick off the icing because it was actually too sweet for our taste, but the cake was so good. We also stopped just below Whistler at Brandywine Falls. The falls weren't that far from Whistler Village, only about 20 minutes away. We hiked the 1 kilometre return trail to the falls. It was just a beautiful walk, very, very easy and relaxed, which was nice for us as we were just feeling a little bit tired from all the driving by this point. The falls were absolutely stunning. So beautiful and feeling so blessed having shared such an amazing trip with these two. I can't believe it's our last full day together being the three of us. It was so funny seeing all the signs for no alcohol on the premises for the falls, and we presume due to the name Brandywine Falls, people must bring alcohol to the falls like brandy or wine, and because there hadn't been those signs at other locations we'd been to, so the name must have been fitting for the occasion. We didn't have to take the longer route on the Highway 99, but we'd intended to do Joffrey Lake, and even though we didn't get to see it, it was actually really nice going back through all the previous places we'd stayed and stopped, seeing Whistler again and Squamish, reminiscing over our trip so far, seeing where we stayed in our first hostel in Squamish and saying goodbye to the town, looking at the 3 peaks we hiked up and seriously feeling disbelief that we actually hiked that high. Oh my god, it was crazy. It's been such an eventful 3 weeks. It was such a wholesome day, and Whistler and Squamish really do have the best weather. We actually went to a little hotel because we wanted to, treat ourselves on our last night together in Vancouver. Plus, the hostels in inner cities aren't usually that great. Just a little FYI. It was so nice to have a bit of luxury. We actually headed to the airport after checking into our hotel room to drop off the car. We decided to save and not pay for an extra day with the car since we're just going to be sightseeing around Vancouver tomorrow and don't really need the car. It was quite a long drive. It took us an hour to drive from West Vancouver to North Vancouver, where the airport is. Dropped the car off all sweet and then caught a train and bus back to our hotel for our last night together. Good morning, guys. So today we had a pretty jam-packed day planned to check out the Capilano suspension bridge before we fly out tonight. The day was quite overcast and a little rainy, but that didn't dampen our spirits, and by this point, what's new really? We packed all our luggage up and checked out of the hotel. We were lucky the hotel was able to hold our bags for the day, so that saved us having to lug them around everywhere. Thank goodness. I was definitely not up for that. We arrived around 10 a.m. to the park. It was so stunning seeing the rainforest greens contrasted against the overcast sky. We had the whole day and nothing else planned, so we'd agreed to take our time wandering through and exploring the park. We read pretty much all the signage, which was super interesting, learning about the history of the area, why the bridge was built, and how they constructed the suspension bridge. Walking across the bridge was actually scarier than I'd thought it was going to be. It was super wobbly and swayed so much as we walked across. The view beneath, though, was just beautiful. The rainforest was so green and lush and so big, like what the heck? This forest was an ancient forest and the trees were so insanely tall because of the fog that was common in the area, and the fog actually supplies up to 40% of the rainforest's water. This strong supply of water causes the trees to grow larger than normal. We saw the oldest tree in the forest named Big Doug after the fact that it was a Douglas fir tree. It was 500 years old and so large. At the base, we were nowhere near able to wrap our arms around the base. And the height of this tree was next level. We explored around the whole area and we actually came across the raptors area where they had some birds of prey out and a little question and answer going on. And we found out that the owl is actually the ultimate bird of prey, which I was super surprised by. I always thought of the falcon as the top dog, but because the owl rarely sleeps and is a silent flyer, it takes the cake. We went back across the suspension bridge and over to the trading post, which was the gift shop. Originally, before it became a tourist attraction, it was the original house of the area. There were a few food shops around and live music playing, so we sat and had a snack and had a hot chockey, of course. After the live music, we walked over to the cliff walk, which was the other attraction in the park. It took us around the cliff edge, giving us a beautiful view of the forest around. It was early afternoon by the time we'd finished, and the treetop attraction was unfortunately closed for maintenance today, so we couldn't do that. We headed back to the hotel to pick up our bags and start making our way to the airport. I can't wait to have a car again in Nova Scotia. Just having one day without it really makes you appreciate the convenience a car gives and the freedom. We stopped in the city centre and grabbed some dinner before heading on the train to the airport. I ordered a pad see ew with beef and also got a fruit smoothie because I was just craving some fresh fruit. I was absolutely devastated to be leaving Tristan. We both shed so many tears saying goodbye. I can't believe it's going to be 15 months before I can wrap my arms around him again. Ness and I boarded our flight and we headed over to Nova Scotia. We landed in Nova Scotia at 7 a.m. and went to get our flashy, new and clean car. Then we hit the road. We didn't want to do any scenic stops on the way there. I was honestly so tired and had a long drive ahead. We were just keen to get to PEI, which is Prince Edward Island. We agreed to do some of the tourist stops maybe on the way back to Halifax. The drive to Charlottetown on Prince Edward Island was very, very rainy, and crossing the Confederation Bridge was so cool but very scary for me. I'm not the most confident of drivers and the wind was absolutely howling outside, so the car was being pushed over to the other lane as I was driving, which made me so nervous. I really had to concentrate. We made it to the hostel, thank God, but Ness and I had some time to kill before checking in, so we walked a few minutes down the road to check out one of the local cafes and get a much needed coffee. We stayed and chatted for a couple of hours in the cozy cafe, which was so wonderful because it was just raining outside, and headed back over to our hostel to check in. This is absolutely, hands down, the best hostel I've ever been in, and that's saying something. I've stayed in my fair share of hostels. The people here are amazing, the kitchen is amazing, and our rooms are, guess what, amazing. We spent the evening getting to know everyone at the hostel, playing chess and chatting. It was a really wholesome evening actually, and that's all we did today. Guys, we woke up to a sunny day. Oh, I'm so happy. We had breakfast and then went and got a coffee, or Ness got a coffee and I actually got a hot chocolate because I'm still not the biggest fan of the coffee here. But we did go to that same cafe that we went to yesterday and it was just glorious outside. And we honestly looked like such tourists with our map out walking around. It was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing at Ness just holding out the map in front of her. Honestly, if anyone walked by, they'd be picking us out straight away as tourists. We were surprised how small the town was actually while we were walking around. The map made it look so spread out, but walking it actually wasn't that big. I can definitely see why Charlottetown is known as a walking town. We were excited to check out the Anne of Green Gables chocolate shop. I couldn't get over how cute the little chocolates were and how they were named creatively after the characters. I was obsessed. We checked out the yacht club along the pier, which was so cool, and all the way along the coast front. Along the boardwalk, it was just beautiful. Everything here is so green and so lush. We wanted to come back this evening because we were told it was the best location to watch the sunset from. So that's what we'll do, as it's such a beautiful day for a cracker sunset. We went back to our hostel for some lunch and a bit of a rest. I read my book, which I've been loving, and recommend it to everyone. Honestly, it's such a great read. I did end up having a bit of a nap as well. I was just feeling a bit run down. In the afternoon, it was still a stunning one, so Ness and I decided to walk the Confederation Trail, as it's one of the attractions to check out here in Charlottetown. We walked a good 30 minutes of it and decided to head back to our hostel for some dinner. As we walked back, a storm actually started to pass over town, so we had to push our sunset to hopefully tomorrow night instead. And it ended up being okay anyhow, because we actually had a great evening talking and chatting with our housemates and really becoming close. And that's all we did today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's vlog and stay tuned for my upcoming daily travel vlogs. Bye guys.